Welcome to episode 5 of Nant Fawr Brews. My name is Andy and I'm a home brewer and beer lover based here in Cardiff in sunny Wales. And it is, I say that every week and it's usually raining. It is genuinely sunny this week in the UK. So for once, I haven't lied in the intro. Nant Fawr is a Welsh phrase. It means big stream. So Nant Fawr Brews is the name of my minuscule, tiny little kitchen-based home brewery. And it's also the name of this podcast. The aim of this podcast is to have great conversations inspired by beer with people who are passionate about beer and do all of this ideally over a beer. And as I say this, I can see my guest actually taking a sip of their beer. So that is happening exactly as we speak. It's episode 5 and it is a World Cup special. My guest today is a guy with a brilliant idea to get a beer from every country playing at the World Cup. He managed it. And when he posted about it on Twitter with a pic of him and all 32 beers, he got a big reaction. He's done a load of interviews for media outlets all over the world, all building up to this moment, the biggest show out there, the Nant Fawr Brews podcast. It's Gus Hully. Gus, how are you?
I'm not too bad, man. How are you?
I'm really good. Now, this interview has come together very quickly. A mate of mine spotted that you were taking off on Twitter with your challenge and said, he's got to come on your podcast. And to be fair to you, it's such a real quick and positive reaction. You're like, yes, I'm up for coming on. So thank you very much for doing this at short notice. I mean, first things first, have you been a bit shocked at the reaction to what you did?
A little bit. Because I did it in 2018 and it kind of went viral then, but it wasn't anything to the extent that it has done this time round. In 2018, it got 30,000 likes or something, whereas this time it's over 100,000. So it's you can consider it 3 times as big as what it was. But last time round, I didn't do any interviews, whereas this time round, I've just been getting offers from all over the place. So there's been offers. Well, I've done an interview with Aussie breakfast radio show, a Canadian breakfast radio show, a small town TV channel in Wisconsin. I spoke to a Ghanaian journalist yesterday as well. So it's just really, really bizarre that people just want to speak to me for building a collection.
I totally get it. I used to work in radio and this is so perfect for radio stations. Some producer will get very excited going, oh, look, there's this guy and he's got a beer from each of the countries. We've got to get him on, especially when one of those countries is your country. So, yeah, it's a great idea. This is not what you do. You're not a kind of beer collector for World Cups by trade. This is just something you do on the side. You're a normal guy, and for some reason, when World Cups come around, do you do it for the Euros as well, or is it just a World Cup thing?
Yeah, so I did it for the Euros last year, and that kind of got retweeted and liked a lot. So I think that did 20,000 likes. And yeah, I try and do it whenever there's a tournament come up. So I think I've done it for 2016 Euros, World Cup in 2018, Women's World Cup in 2019, and Euros in 2020. I also did it for Eurovision this year, but nobody seemed to care about that, which I can kind of understand. But that was more challenging than any of the World Cups or Euros that I've had to do so far, I think.
Oh yeah, I bet it was. We'll come back to that actually, because it is such a simple and clever idea, but actually you must think as you're building up to it, you already have in your head, there's going to be a couple of tricky ones here. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to find these.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, certainly for this time round, I've never even heard of a drink from Qatar, let alone an alcoholic or / non-alcoholic beverage. So I hadn't even heard of a brewery. So I was like, I guess there's probably no point in doing it if I can't complete the set and get 32 out of 32. But then I heard about a non-alcoholic brewer called Fizzin that were based in Qatar that started up in late 2020. But I found out about them, February or March this year. And as soon as I found out about that, I was like, okay, there's a possibility we might be able to get this. Senegal, I didn't think would be that much of an issue, but that turned into a bit of an adventure in trying to find it in the first place.
So months and months of prep, you're kind of building up towards the moment, and you've got a deadline because you've got to have them for the photo. You've got to have them all there in your possession a few days before the World Cup.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, yeah, because I think I started looking at it in February or March, 8 months, 9 months now. But I think when I started to take it seriously, it would have been about June or so. So 5 months of serious planning and research and venturing out into all these restaurants and bars down in South London to try and pick up a Ghanaian beer, all that sort of stuff.
I'm looking forward to all these stories. But look, we need to get a little bit of business done first because we try traditionally on the podcast to have a beer. I have a beer as I'm speaking, and my guest always has a beer. So what are you drinking, Gus, and why did you choose it?
So because you're based in Cardiff, I thought I'd try and get a Welsh beer. So I'm drinking a can of the Norris by Tiny Rebel, which is a chuckleberry oak aged super sour. I've had it in my fridge for a few months because I was always put off by it because it's super sour. So I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go for it. So I thought I'd give that a go. It is super sour. It's exactly what I expected.
It looks pretty colourful on the camera as well. Let's just describe the colour for the listeners.
It's like vivid red. It's like a cloudy Tizer.
Yeah, it does look like you might have a very large glass of cough mixture there. But and I can actually see your face screwing up as you drink it, so it's obviously got that sourness.
I mean, the thing is, I quite like sour beers anyway, so it's like a nice reaction to it.
There's so much to talk about because obviously you know your beer and you love your beer, which I guess is part of the reason why you do this challenge, and I want to get into that as well. Can you quickly whip through the 32 beers now of that you've collected? You're allowed to look at the screen. Don't worry, it's not a test. It's just so that people who haven't seen it on Twitter realise the kind of breadth that you've got in the list. So if you could give us the full list, that'd be cool.
Okay, so for Saudi Arabia, I've got a bottle of Hillsberg Honey, which is a non-alcoholic malt beverage from Saudi. Cameroon, it's a big bottle of Beaufort Light, which is just a generic light lager. South Korea, a small bottle of Katz, another fairly bog-standard lager. Argentina is Quilmes. Portugal is Superboc, because Sagres is trash.
Ah, lovely. Superboc, my first ever beer that I ever drank.
Oh, wow. Okay. What was that, holiday beer when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, I told this story on a previous podcast, but yeah, it was being led astray by an older friend who, you know, we're away on holiday and he's like, oh, let's have a beer after we played tennis, age 14. I always have to give this caveat. Whenever I ask people about the first beer they ever had, there's always underage drinking. We don't condone it, but it happens. But yeah, so there you go. That's why Superboc is my first ever beer. So I like, sorry to interrupt you, but I had a link there.
That's all good. Canada, I got a bottle of Moosehead Lager. Switzerland, a bottle of 1936. Mexico, it's a stubby bottle of Modelo. Croatia, a can of Karlovačko. Serbia, a bottle of Lav. Poland, a big bottle of Tysky. Morocco, a small bottle of Casablanca. Australia, a bottle of Cooper's Red Sparkling Ale. Japan is a bottle of Hitachino Red Rice Ale. Denmark is a litre can of Faxa, which is absolutely huge. Spain is a bottle of Estrella Galicia. Brazil's 600ml bottle of Antarctica. France, big can of Kronenbourg 1664, which has actually been brewed in France, just nice. So you know.
Okay, good attention to detail that.
Well, because the rule is that I've got to do the beers that have actually been brewed in that country.
Good.
I can't be having like a UK brewed Kronenbourg 1664. It just wouldn't be right.
No, I respect that deeply.
Yeah, good. Netherlands is a bottle of Bavaria. Uruguay, a can of Patricia. Ecuador, a bottle of Pilsner. Ghana is a big bottle of Club, which seems to have delighted all the Ghanaian fans on Twitter. They're very, very happy that has been chosen.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah. Germany, Spartan, I think that's how it's pronounced. Spartan, Oktoberfest beer. Belgium is a bottle of Chimay Blue, which I think is like 8% or 9% or something.
Careful with that one.
Yeah, no, not looking forward to that. But yeah, Iran is a non-alcoholic bottle of Istak. Wales is the Bale Lager by Glamorgan Brewing. Tunisia is a little bottle of Celtia. Costa Rica is a bottle of Imperial. Senegal is Bière La Gazelle. Qatar is a can of Fizzin Melon non-alcoholic beverage, malt beverage even. USA is a tall boy of Miller High Life, and England is a just 330ml can of Camden Hells.
Congratulations. That is incredibly impressive. It's great because there are a lot of beers on there that I've never heard of. There's probably a load on there that you'd never heard of until you had to go and find them. So it's going to be fascinating drinking them. So what's the plan for drinking? Are you going to try and watch a game that each of the teams are involved with and drink it then? How does it work?
No, so the plan is that I will basically drink the beer not as soon as but after that country has been knocked out, as a way to sort of like toast their participation in the competition, as it were. Because if I had to do it for every game that they played, I wouldn't be able to afford that. That'd be a lot of beer that I'd have to buy. So I'm taking the cheap way out, basically.
Okay, so actually you don't have to start drinking these for a few weeks because the whole group phase has got to play out first. And then you're suddenly going to have you might have a day where you suddenly have to drink 5 or 6 beers.
Yes, I'm not particularly looking forward to the end of the group stages. So I'm hoping that some teams will lose 2 games after their first 2 and be like knocked out straight away. But I don't know how possible that's going to be.
I guess maybe you could target that day where you know that there's going to be a lot of people being knocked out, and then get some mates around that could maybe help you out. Because you've just got to have a taste of each, right? You don't have to drink the whole thing yourself, do you?
I mean, I don't have to drink the whole thing myself. My wife is already looking forward to that part of the tournament when she can have a lot of beers herself that she hasn't necessarily paid for. So I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. But yeah, so there will be a little bit of sharing. Don't worry about that.
Have you done the maths on how much it costs you all to do this?
Yes, I think roughly it probably costs cost about £150, which includes going out to buy the beers in the first place.
Okay, so a couple of ones I want to revisit. You mentioned the Qatar one right at the top. I guess that's the one that everyone goes, that's got to be the hardest. Was that the hardest to source?
It was hardest to source because I had no idea where I was going to get it from or how I was going to get it. But in the end, it was fairly simple. So I think it was like August, I put out a tweet saying, can anybody help me? I'm trying to find this can of non-alcoholic Qatari beer or malt beverage. And complete radio silence for a month or so. But then I put out another tweet, which was, I don't know if you know the Bernie Sanders meme, where he's like, I am once again asking, blah, blah, blah,
oh, yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I did something like that, being like, once again asking for a can of Qatari beer. And then one of my friends, Dan, he spotted it, mentioned to me that he has a friend living in Doha. And he was like, oh, yeah, I can get you one. I'm coming over to England in a couple of weeks. I'll bring it over then. He flew over, gave it to my friend Dan, met up with my friend Dan, bought him a beer for it, and everything seemed to work out pretty well.
It's one of those things where people are just glad to help, aren't they? I mean, there are some things where you will you help me move house? Where suddenly people kind of go, oh, I seem to be busy that weekend. But, can anyone help me source a beer to complete my 32 beer World Cup collection? Everyone's suddenly like, oh yeah, I can sort that, I've got a mate. And that's actually really nice when all these kind of systems, especially social media that we can sometimes get quite frustrated with, suddenly come into a really positive way, and actually the links can connect really quickly, can't they?
Yeah, it never fails to amaze me that strangers can be just so generous for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So it absolutely blew my mind that somebody that I've never met just wanted to help me out for no reason whatsoever.
You've got two things that people tend to bond over, beer and football, working together. So you've kind of got a double whammy to get you started there. And I realised I've been remiss because I've not told you what I'm drinking. I'd love to claim that this is meant to be a cloudy beer. It's not. It just needs to settle down. Is it just cold? Well, I'd love to hide behind that as well. No, it's just a bit murky. It's one of my own. So I do home brewing. And regular listeners to the show, all three of them, will tell you that I've been trying to brew a beer it's got a World Cup theme. So next week, I'm meeting up with a lot of old friends, and we're going to try and watch 4 games in a day. This is one of the things about this World Cup, is you've got this 4 games in a day thing. But we're going to try and do 4, and it's old university friends. We're meeting up in Birmingham. We're at University of Manchester, but we're meeting up in Birmingham, where a couple of our guys live there. And I said, right, I will try and brew a beer for the World Cup for us all to drink. And this is it. As usual, things happen, life gets in the way. I haven't quite brewed it as early as I wanted, so it hasn't quite settled down yet. But it is drinkable, right. So we have achieved that. So there you go. So This is, it's based on a California common recipe. I don't know if you've had Anchor steam beer.
Yeah, the steam lager. Yeah, I've had that before.
I like to brew, more kind of ale-y stuff, some craft beer stuff as well, but I guess more traditional ale stuff. And my mates just drink, cooking lager, as another friend of mine would call it, but, kind of commercial lager. And so I'm trying to get a little bit of a middle ground where they'll be able to drink it, but it's still got a little bit of an aliness to it. So this is my halfway house. So that's what I'm drinking. So there you go. We've managed to sort that out. Qatar was maybe not necessarily the hardest one. So which one was the hardest one then?
So I mentioned Senegal earlier. That was without a doubt the hardest one. In 2018, I ended up going over to Paris, picked up a bottle of La Gazelle, and came back, and that was fairly simple. This time round, I knew a few people that were living in Paris. So I was like, oh yeah, you go to the shops or the restaurants that might stock it just to see if they've got it. If they do, you can send it me, or I'll come over to Paris, wherever. They went to all these shops and they said that they haven't seen any La Gazelle in Paris for about 6 months. They didn't have any shipments arriving or anything like that. So it was kind of like, all right, that's my source completely shut down now. So I don't really know what I'm going to do. So it kind of got to the point where I assume you know all about Untapped, right?
Yes.
Okay, it kind of got to the point where I was monitoring the Bière La Gazelle page to see if anybody had been checking it in. But I think it started in July and ended in September. So I've been monitoring for about 2 months, just seeing if anybody would check it in. Because you can't message somebody without adding them as a friend.
Yeah.
So I was adding people and see if they'd accept it and then try and message them. But it never really happened.
So just to explain for people who might not know what Untapped is, it's almost like a beer social media platform where people will check in saying, I'm drinking this here. They'll kind of name check the place, name check the beer, give it a bit of a review. I can see why that would be a place to start. That's almost like the perfect place to be a detective for your task, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. But it kind of got to the point where nobody was really getting back to me. But I think in like mid-September, I saw this guy check it in. I tried to add him as a friend, but he didn't respond. But I saw that his username was Russian Rat. So I did a quick Google of Russian Rat, and turned out he's got an Instagram page with the same name. And I clicked on one of his stories, and he was drinking La Gazelle in the desert. So I was like, is it bad if I send him a message? Just like out of the blue? So yeah, ended up sending him a message. And then he got back to me like 10 minutes later, being like, oh yeah, I'll bring you a couple of beers back. I'm on holiday in Senegal at the moment. I live in Italy, but as soon as I get back, I'll send you some beers over. And so
and
I was
he
like,
did it.
Well, he did it eventually, yeah. So it took him about 2 weeks to get back to Italy, and then it took him about 2 weeks to get it sent over. I told him to send it to my friend in Germany, where I was getting the Tunisia and Costa Rica from, because sending from Italy to Germany, there's no customs fees. You can just pack it up in a box and send it, where if you're sending it from Italy to UK, there's customs. So I was trying to make it easier for him. He sent it over to my German friend. My German friend picked it up. He was excited. He packed it all together and sent it over to me, and then I got it about a month ago. And then that's when I was like, oh wow, this is really going to happen. We're going to get 32 out of 32 now.
I mean, it's really great to hear the stories behind it, because I think it's easy to look at that photo on Twitter and think, oh, well, he's just gone down, I don't know, some beer superstore and bought most of them. But it sounds like there is a story behind each of these. So let's talk a bit more about the Ghana one, because you said that's one that's getting you some kind of praise.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think somebody Ghanaian might have spotted it or retweeted it, but it seemed to spread all over Ghanaian Twitter. So like the majority of comments for about a 3-hour stint were all like Ghanaian, or like Ghanaian flags, or like, oh my God, I can't believe you chosen club. As in like, as a positive thing, not as a negative thing. But then you get like the odd comment being just like, oh, I can't believe you chosen club when you could have chosen Star. Like everybody's always
that, isn't there?
Everybody's always got an opinion on what beer you choose. Like even if like it's generally well popular. It's similar to back in 2018. It seemed to do really well in Nigeria, that I had a massive bottle of Gouda, and they all seem to be really happy.
I think for each country, there are beers where you'd think, oh, that's an obvious choice. Like, I don't know, maybe for England, if it was like a can of Carling or something. There's other things where you can see that you've maybe put in a bit of effort, and I think this is probably to do with your methods, which is your methods are through contacting people who are locals or have a link to that area, and they're more likely to be drinking something that is more authentic or a bigger hit locally. Like, I mean, even I can tell from the fact that, I mean, I've lived in Wales for years. Obviously, I don't sound Welsh, but I know a lot about the Welsh brewing scene here, and the fact that you chose, you knew about Tiny Rebel, that's a nice touch, and then you've also bought, Glamorgan Brewing Company with the Bale Ale. You've obviously done a bit of thinking about it, and I think that goes a long way, where it's not just a case of like on a website looking for the right country and just clicking the first one you see. So I think that thought goes a long way, and people get very attached to the beers that mean something to them locally, don't they?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, because I remember I did it for the Euros last year, and I think I chose, I think it was a can of Żywiec from Poland. And then everybody was like, oh my God, this is a trash beer. Why have you chosen this beer? And I was like, all right, settle down. And the same thing happened with choosing a bottle of Grolsch. I was like, I thought Grolsch is fairly well respected for a mass lager. But then everybody in the Netherlands was like, oh my God, don't even do this again. Settle down.
Have you had any of that with any of them so far for this batch?
Oh, the Americans absolutely hate that I've gone for a massive can of Miller High Life. So it went on Reddit, and like the majority of the comments are just like, oh my God. Why Miller High Life?
Well, you can answer that question. Why Miller High Life?
Well, so that one, I had a friend who went to New York in August, and I just asked him to bring me a tall boy because I thought it would be funny, because they're like huge cans. And then he just ended up picking the Miller High Life, which I was fine with because I've never had it before, so I'm looking forward to tasting it. I saw it on the can, it said the champagne of beers, so I'm like, all right, okay, it's got a slogan for a reason. I'm sure it's probably nice. Turns out it's quite hated in America and pretty much everywhere else.
I've spoken to quite a lot of Americans on this podcast, and it's clear that the craft beer scene over there it could not be in a healthier state. It's absolutely flying. A new microbrewery pops up every week, and they're really getting into it. And so I guess maybe that's why, because it's such a big commercial beer. But I respect your choice, and I, like you, have an interest in this sounds very beer nerdy, but just the serving device. Like, if there's a really big can, then that's interesting, isn't it? Because when else would you have a really big can? So I get it.
Yeah, I mean, like, people like a little bit of a novelty every once in a while, which is like why I've gone for the litre can size of Paxer. So I'm like, yeah, okay, let's give that a go. But like, it's weird because I like both, like, mainstream lager, as it were, and the craft beer scene. So, this is why I'm happy to drink a load of lagers, and like I'm drinking this sour from Tiny Rebel as well. It's sort of like I've tried to balance it a little bit, but I mean, because I'm doing beers from countries that I've never really been to before, there's very limited options. So it is just mostly lagers on this occasion.
Now, tell me, how are you enjoying being a beer celebrity at the moment?
It's weird. It's weird. I'm not really sure what to think of it because I'm getting like requests to do interviews left, right, and centre. And I think, I got a request off this morning a few days ago, and I was like, no. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not doing live TV. Well, I mean, I think I took a little while to respond because I said like, oh yeah, let's give it a go, and then I just got ghosted. So basically, I think that's their loss, you know.
Definitely. I mean, I think one thing you could do is when those big brands come calling is go, well, it's just worth always sticking in that line about, oh, what's the fee?
Yeah,
just stick it. Just
I'm not in it for the money.
Do you make your own beer? That was a question I had for you. Are you a home brewer?
No. Well, I mean, I live in a small flat in London, so I don't really have the opportunity to do that. But I know a couple of guys. Well, I know a guy in South London that brews his own stuff, and another guy in Manchester who brews his own stuff as well. And the guy in Manchester brewed probably one of the nicest Dortmunders I've ever had. So wow. I'm fully on board with like home brewing.
Well, that would be the temptation for me to put in that line about what's the fee, because I'll just be thinking, think how many batches of grain I could get for that, or I could upgrade my kit. And as the home brewers listening will know, the journey of upgrading your kit is never over. There is always something else you can get. So no, okay, well maybe that's something that might come to you. I mean, you obviously have a massive interest in beer. What's your story there? How did that come about?
Well, I mean, I guess the basic background of it is that my dad has been a member of Canberra since 1975. Like, he's one of the, not a founder member, but a very early member. So I think he used to go around Warwickshire, which is where I grew up, just like selling good beer guides and all that sort of stuff. So I guess I kind of like picked it up from him. Like, I'm pretty sure he gave me his first beer when I was very, very young, which I think it would have been a Boddington's of some sort, or maybe a Guinness, because I thought it looked like a glass of Coke or something, that sort of thing. You go to uni, you just drink crap lager all the time. Yeah. But I think I'm not even sure where the huge interest in it came from, because I was always like, all right, if it's £2 a pint at uni, that's fine, that'll do.
Yeah.
I guess going on holiday to loads of countries over Europe and just like seeing what different beers they had there really sort of excited me. Like, the first time I had a dark lager was completely shocking because I'd never seen anything like that before. So it would look like a Guinness, and then you drink it and you're like, oh, it's just a slightly malty beer. So that sort of like shocked me a little bit.
You must have now, due to these challenges, you've done 4 or 5 of them now. You'll have tried a whole variety of beers that most people haven't. So are there any favourites that have, or any interesting ones that have emerged over the challenges that you've thought, oh, actually I would have that again, or it's introduced you to a new beer style, or just an interesting taste?
When Iceland were in the Euros, I think had what's the brewery in Iceland? I can't remember. They did like a wit beer that was really quite nice, an Icelandic pale ale or something. Like, I tried that and I thought, perhaps I like wit beers, but then I tried some others from the UK and I was like, oh no, this is not good.
No, I don't know. But I can't get on with them either.
But no, the majority of beers from this challenge have been lagers. Although I think for the Eurovision one, I ended up getting like a K's Brewery, the caramel fudge stout. And I was like, all right, okay. My wife is really big into her stouts, so especially the pastry stouts. So she's to blame for that.
Now, you mentioned earlier that Eurovision was really tricky. So what was the hardest one with Eurovision?
Well, I wasn't going to do it up until about 2 weeks before the competition, when my friend dared me to do it. So I was like,
dangerous.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this is like 36, 38 countries. But thankfully, I already had a bottle of Armenian beer waiting to be drank. Nice. Same for a bottle of San Marino and Gibraltar. I know Gibraltar weren't in it, but like that was in the stocks. But then I knew a guy in America who had a bottle from Moldova. So I was like, any chance you can get that shipped over like ASAP? Because like we've got a deadline here. And he was just like, yeah, fine, I'll send it over. You just send me something in return at some point. So that worked out all right. But like, I was struggling to get a Slovenian beer, like certainly within the space of 2 weeks, because there's a Balkan shop down in Hampstead, which would sort me out with like Croatia, Serbia, North Macedonia. But Slovenia, they just didn't have in stock at that time. So I was like, crap. But the same guy who sorted me out with Costa Rica and Tunisia for the World Cup, he also had a Slovenian beer in his stocks as well. So it was kind of like, can you help me out with this as well, please? If I'd had more time to plan it, it wouldn't have been a struggle. But because it all had to be sort of like rushed through in about 2 weeks, that was where the real struggle happened.
I think this is a kind of thing that you can talk about in job interviews in the future. Like, tell me about your project management skills. Well, I have been able to locate a beer at very short notice from any part of the world.
Yeah, it's not work related, but that sort of thing. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I would like to hear if I was hiring. That's cool. So, right, this is a roundabout way of asking you who's going to win the World Cup. Which beer do you think you're going to be drinking last?
I think it's going to be the Antarctica Original from Brazil. I can't really see past them. I think it's going to be them or Argentina, like one of the South American nations. But I still think that some of the African nations might surprise a few teams. It's a shame that Sadio Mane is injured because I think Senegal could have done quite well.
Yeah.
But really, I think it's going to be Brazil lifting the cup at the end of the tournament.
And who's your team, club football-wise?
So I'm a Cheltenham Town fan.
Brilliant.
Because I grew up in the Midlands and Cheltenham was, like a 40-minute drive away from us. So I think my dad took us there when I was, like, just turning to be a team. And I think that was their first season in the League Two for, I think maybe ever, I'm not really sure, but he took me to a few games. And I was like, oh, this is actually quite good. But speaking of Cheltenham, they've got a great brewery over there, Daya.
Nice, yep.
Which I'd really like to go to and combine it with the trip to the football stadium at the same time.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect day. Now, do Cheltenham have a link to the World Cup somehow? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question, because I'm a Brentford fan. Now, I can identify with being a lower league football fan because that's what Brentford used to be. And I was okay with that. In fact, I liked that. And now suddenly we're on this bizarre Premier League journey. But back in the day, I remember we had a player called Brian Statham, and he was Zimbabwe's right back. And so we very faithfully watched Zimbabwe's results on CFAX, hoping they would qualify. Of course, they got nowhere near. But he was our link to kind of like international football when obviously we weren't going to have an England player or even any of the home nations. So is there a link with Cheltenham? Have you got anyone in a random squad or anything?
I mean, I can't think of anybody. I haven't really paid too much attention. I know that we used to have Jack Butland on loan, but I don't think he ever went to a World Cup. I think he might have gone to a Euros and not played.
That'll do. He's been in an international squad. That'll do. That's perfect. That's good. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Congratulations for completing the challenge. I think that's fantastic. I'm going to be watching you on Twitter to see the updates. Is there anything you want to draw people's attention to in terms of what you're doing? Anything you want to talk about?
Not necessarily. I'm just like thrilled to be invited onto this podcast. Really, I'm thrilled to do any kind of. Well, I'm just thrilled that people actually want to speak to me.
Yeah, it's always nice, isn't it? To be in demand. You've got a great Twitter handle. What is it?
Balls to this.
Balls to.
Yeah, it was set up maybe like 10, 12 years ago when my friend really wanted me to set up a Twitter, and I was like, no, I can't be arsed. Just put balls to this. I was like, fine, balls to this it is. Oh, you've done it.
You've got that for life. Okay.
Yeah. Well, because like the radio interview that I did with the Aussie Sports like morning show, they kept on saying balls to this, and I was like, oh wow. When you were saying it out on like radio, it actually sounds like quite
like bad, it was your brand.
But quite funny. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you are single-handedly keeping Twitter from folding at the moment because you're just a little bloom of positivity in an otherwise negative world as Elon Musk attempts to dismantle it.
Mind you, all my friends are basically saying I'm the one that started the beginning of the end of Twitter, and they're saying that the Qatari royal family have seen my tweet, and that's why they've banned beer in Qatar. And I'm just like, I didn't mean for this to happen. I think so. You're responsible
for the 48 hours to go about turn on the alcohol because clearly, it must be your fault. In a previous episode, we had a brewer in Tennessee pretty convinced that the pandemic was caused by him brewing a barley wine. Because literally the moment they took it out of the fermenting vessel, started to kind of bottle it and put it in kegs, the radio came on and like announced the lockdown. So they're claiming that. So I think just join the queue, mate, basically.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Oh, we know you're thinking you're going to be drinking the Brazilian beer last. Do you think the Qatari one's going to be the first one that you drink? What do you think?
I don't know, like, because I don't really know how good the Qataris are. I'd quite like to drink the Qatari one first. It would be fitting because nobody really wants this World Cup in Qatar.
I would look forward to having you on the podcast at the next opportunity, the next tournament you can find to do another one of these challenges. So I'll be watching on Twitter. But yeah, Gus, thanks for coming on the podcast. All the best, mate.
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me.
Loved that interview with Gus. What a nice guy. What a great idea. And what a great way to enjoy the World Cup and enjoy beer at the same time. I must give a massive thanks to my friend Tom Baker, who spotted that Gus was doing this challenge on Twitter and said to me, "You've got to get him on the podcast." And I reached out to Gus and he got back in touch straight away, which is how the interview came about. So thank you very much, Tom. This is the bit at the end which my brother-in-law Ben requested, now is a big fan of. I will mention again that in the episode notes to this episode, you will find a link to a beer questionnaire that you can do if you're listening to the Nant Fawr Brews podcast and you would like to be on a future episode using this technology called Rumble Studio. I've placed my questions for one side of an interview about beer, the beer questionnaire, things like your first beer, your last beer, worst, best, all that kind of stuff. Simple stuff about your beer history. If you would like to do that, you can just click on the link and you just record your answers. You can do it on your phone, on your laptop, just using your headphones with a microphone, whatever you want to do. But I will then get that audio and I will turn it into a future episode. So please check that out in the episode notes. And other than that, that is the end of the episode. We are 5 episodes in. I am absolutely loving making this podcast. And thank you to everyone who is listening and getting in touch that they are enjoying it. We've had our first 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. So that is a milestone. Please feel free to go and add your own 5-star review. You know, it helps everyone find out about this funny little podcast that I do about beer. But other than that, between now and the next time we speak, which will be episode 6, have a fantastic time, drink lots of nice beer, enjoy the World Cup, and we'll be back again soon. That's it. Goodbye.